to end up getting all of the practice. And we're going to actually end up increasing the differential between our highest and our lowest kids because you are practicing all the time and then some of you aren't. So it is really critical that we reduce it down to almost non-existent. Okay? But there is another one that's going to surprise you a little bit. Your first name? Yes?
Kelly.
Kelly? So you're rolling Kelly Green, so I can remember it. Good job. And all of those bags are yours right there?
No, the bag like today only has two.
You only have two today, okay. So when I go like this, Kelly, you're going to get something out of the very large bag. But wait till I give you a cue. Down, right. But wait till I give you a cue, okay? So the teacher is teaching along, and notice an inattentive child, and calls on them, Kelly! The second most common habit of American teachers is calling on an inattentive child. Now, perhaps you've never done that, but you've seen it down the hall. But let's just analyze it. So I noticed this child forging through her purse, so I call on her. Now, am I giving attention to appropriate or inappropriate behavior? Which one, everyone? Inappropriate. Is she likely to have a correct or incorrect answer?
Incorrect.
Incorrect. Is she going to add to the richness of our class dialogue? Yes or no?
No.
Really, there's no benefit really in calling on her. I would recommend that you don't call on inattentive children because there's a number of reasons. And one big one is that sometimes it would humiliate a child. Kelly!
I got a computer out just a little while ago.
Right, so it would perhaps humiliate. And one of my very best friends in the world of professors is Dr. Maggie Sprick, who's positive behavioral support across the United States. And one of his laws, his first law, is never humiliate. Never humiliate anyone. Because it creates such a barrier that in a wound that children have difficulty coming back from. And so what do you do though? People would say to me, Anita, what are you going to do with Kelly? You know, she's inattentive. Well, something else. So my favorite things are these. One, I might simply keep teaching and move in on her. Is it possible that she might make a new decision when I'm standing here? Yes or no?
Yes.
If you do not believe that, watch your behavior when the state patrol is behind you. Right? Raise your hand if you're like adjusting. You could have been driving perfectly, but you know they're going to find something. I can't tell you how many times I've just gotten a policeman behind me and I've just like exited to a store I never wanted to go to. But I just know they're going to find something. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is to give a directive to the whole group. I need everybody looking up here. I need everybody attending. I need everybody looking up here. One day a teacher said to me, but it was only Kelly. No, there's never one time in your classroom where there's just one sinner. There's always one sinner. She may be forging through her purse, you're adding advanced doodles to your paper, you're looking at something that you shouldn't be looking at on your computer. But the easiest way to get kids back on task is actually using some physical behavior. Anything from put your finger on the heading, highlight that word, write down these letters, anything that's physical brings them back. So we have this wonderful video of me teaching 2 years ago, I think the worst middle school class I've taught in 50 years. Whoa, it was like, I was using every skill I had, but there were so many kids that were off task. Now, I could have used physical proximity, but I'm unable to levitate. I gave them directives. I need everybody looking up here. I need everybody looking here. But that was inadequate too. So I finally said, listening and be my students. Everybody, grab your pencil and put it in the air. Put it in the air. Everyone. Okay, if you ever want kids to listen to you, this lifts their body up. They can't be doing anything else and they're looking at you. So I use it all the time. So we're going to do a quick quiz, and everybody on your paper, I want you to write down 1 through 10, go, for 10, okay? So suddenly they're all on task. It was like a miracle. But my videographer was there that day, Dima, and he came in on my face, and you could tell I have like no plan. But I got it back on task. So I said, okay, we're having a quick quiz. Item number 1, write down your answer, gave him feedback. 2, gave him feedback. Number 3, gave him feedback. 4, gave him feedback. And then I said, wow, you did so well on 1 through 4. We're not even going to have to do 5 through 10 at this moment. Raise your hand if you do work in middle school. See, you must become a hero, and then all as well. So, but this is important. 2 things we want to eradicate. Calling on volunteers, using it just occasionally, and then calling on students that are inattentive. And I was very surprised. Ours was a middle school study to find that that was the second most common act of teachers is calling on inattentive students. Well, now, so if we're going to call on individuals, we could use the practice we've already talked about, where first we'd ask what everyone a question. Then we would give them what kind of time? Time. Then we'd have them share an answer with their partner, and then we would call them, might even have them stand and deliver. But sometimes you don't want to call on, have them say an answer to a partner. So thinking, do you think it would be better if you weren't going to have them say it to a partner? Would it be better to say their name first, Mary? Or would it be better first to say the question? Talk it over with your partner, which one first and why, name or question. Talk it over with your partner and go. First 2 groups I went to said, well, you would say the question. Because if you said Mary, is it possible upon hearing Mary, some people would check out. Is that possible? In fact, you've just given them a ticket for a cognitive holiday. So, yes, this one's been research validated. If you're going to call on an individual, you would use the question first. You ask the question, you give everybody, what, everyone? Same time, and then we would call on the individual. Yes, more kids would think of an answer, but here's what was the second result of that study. More kids listen to their peers. Because if I've thought of an answer, I want to juxtapose my answer against the person who's called on. We're all curious. One study looked at if you read in a questionnaire in a magazine, and they said on page 98 are the answers or comparison to other people, did people look at it? Absolutely. We want to find out how we compare to others. Are we normal or abnormal? Usually abnormal. Now, here is the problem, and that is, if I'm going to call on people randomly, what we know is that actually teachers, unfortunately, have a pattern if they don't have a system of calling on just some students. Now, this was very evident in the research that we did in New York City on active participation. And so we would go into classes, just like a coach or a principal might visit a classroom, and immediately we would put down a seating chart. So we would go like this, and then we would put down the seats in the classroom. This is going to be a very small classroom, so realize that I know that. And you'll say, well, she doesn't know our classes. Okay, and then we took data. And so if the teacher called on a student, we put a C on their desk. But this is what we found. Let's see if I can get another marker. Almost uniformly, we would see something like this. called on, 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 called on. That was almost always the pattern. A small number of students were called on. And so then we interviewed the teachers and we said, so do you believe that you have equity when you call on students? 150 teachers, everyone said, absolutely. And we had to say, let's look at the data. This is one of the most useful feedbacks to teachers that we could do to be certain that there is distribution. And what we learned, we sort of were asking, why did the teacher call on the students more than others? Because in every classroom, we found this pattern along with shadow children that were seldom if ever called on. So we wanted to know why. Well, one thing we found is that here is Maya sitting right here. And so the teacher often called on high-performing students because it was so reinforcing. They called on them, they gave a correct answer, the teachers think, God, I'm good. And so it was very reinforcing to the teacher. The second one we noticed is that the teacher often called on students that were very assertive in class, acting out in class, and they tried to control the behavior of the student by calling on them. And so what we found is that unless the teacher had some formal way of distributing the responses, that it didn't happen. And so I would recommend for you, with your teachers, to look at this. So maybe we could have the old sticks in a can procedure. Happens to be, came out of the teacher effectiveness studies of the 80s and 90s, where they found we didn't distribute responses, and so they had these cans, put the sticks in, and called on them. And it worked beautifully, particularly in elementary school, less so in secondary, only because now you need 6 cans, one for each period. But if I took one out and I set it down, would some child notice this? Yes or no? Absolutely, they are noticing it. They are thinking, woo, I am free. And so you have to put it back in. Now, some teachers wanted to go through the whole class before they started over again. So now we often put a can within a can. And we put all of them in the middle to start the period. We pull them out, put them on the outside, pull them out, pull them on the outside. When they're all out there, then we pull them back and put them back in. Then some teachers said, well, some of my kids are newcomers and they're immigrant children, and I need very literal questions for them. So then we would make a distinction. For example, red tip the ones. And so now I'm going to randomly pick them, but I'm going to pick them just from the random red tipped ones. So it works well. But we could go, woo, high tech. And we could get an app on our iPhone, an app on our iPad, and there's many of them for randomization. So you might, if you pull up any of these apps, then it'll pull up all the other related ones, and you can pick the one that you loved. So we have teachers pick, pick me, stick pick, randomizer, class vote, a dojo, any of those. Now, that problem is still a little problematic for the secondary teacher, because now I've got to enter my class names, not just for one class of 24, but 6 classes of 38. I don't know about your high school, but I talked to one person here that told me your high school classes are large. Okay? And so that's just a burden. So we're now using secondary option number 3. And so last week I could have done this, or last Monday and Tuesday I could have done it, because I was at a hotel with a 24-hour casino. The only good thing is you can get soft ice cream at 4 in the morning. I did, because it's still open. But anyway, so you are there, and I could have gotten 2 decks of cards. So in our middle school and high schools, we're doing this. So if my highest number of kids is 33, I take up 33 and a max set of 33. We used to tape it to the desk, so when you sat down, you knew what your card was. So maybe your queen of hearts, and 2 of spades, and 3 of diamonds. The only problem is the children wrote on them, picked on them. I had to teach one child that when you have the sound k at the end of a word, then you use CK, not just K. So he needed that lesson for a message he wrote on the card. He was surprised I made it into a spelling lesson, not into any other thing. Anyway, so now what we do is we take them to the back of the chair so that you know it because it's on the back of your chair, but also yes, you would know this person, what theirs was, and you could tell them. Now, the reason I use this is, one, I have a system for all classes. I don't have to have one for each class. And all I have to do is pull out a card and say Queen of Hearts, and you know that is you. But there's other reasons. Particularly secondary teachers often want to regroup kids. So maybe we want huddle groups, and I say diamonds over there, clubs up there, spades over there, hearts over there. Boom, I've got it. I was doing a demonstration in a science class on the different forms of matter, and I said, if you are a jack and a 7 or a 2, join me up here for the demonstration. So it allows us to regroup kids. But we've got to have a system, because if you think that your teachers have total equity in terms of calling on kids, it simply isn't true. At least our data would show it's not. It's a very good piece of data for principals, assistant principals, and coaches to collect. Well, I want you just to take a moment and share with your partner which of these methods, or maybe you have another method that works well, would be particularly viable at your own setting. So talk it over with your partner, what kind of practice for calling on kids randomly might be useful, and don't.